You must see this droid safely delivered to him on Alderaan. This is our most desperate hour. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Anakin Skywalker, meet Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan! Oh, buddy!
Hello there.
General Kenobi! Kenobi!
Obi-Wan.
That's why I'm here.
Because of Obi-Wan.
Kenobi is all that matters now. Is that understood?
Hello there.
Hello there.
Hello there. Hello there.
Welcome to the Chiss Ascendancy podcast.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to
the Chiss Ascendancy.
It's episode 88, y'all, and I'm excited. We are, man. I paused there because for the last 6 weeks, Samuel keeps going. We made it every single time. I
pulling the rug out from under you. I knew you were waiting for it. That's why I didn't say it.
Episode 88.
Never let me know your next move.
Very, very cool. Yeah, that's true. So we're excited. We're going to talk today about the finale of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and what we'll try to do is get through this episode in 20 to 30 minutes, and then we can spend another however long just on our thoughts on the series, since it's all wrapped up now. So let's go ahead and jump in. We're excited. It was super, super fun. So if you're new, thank you guys for tuning in. Please like the channel, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so that whenever stuff comes out, you get notified. But besides that, let's just get into it. So there's a way that we review everything. It's 5 categories. And if you are not new to the podcast, you know how it goes. If you are new, this is new to you. So number 1, we have our overall thoughts. This is where we talk about the what Blast Points podcast calls the chunky bits of the episode, which is, the nitty gritty, the hungry man soup. And then number 2, we rate the episode on a scale of 1 to 10. Number 3, we give a standout moment or moments, things that just made us go, oh my gosh. So we're going to be there for a hot minute on this episode. Number 4, new characters. And then number 5, what's next, which is where we'll kind of transition to the review of the season if we think there's room for a season 2. Cool. So let's jump into it. Overall thoughts, gentlemen. I guess I'll start on the far right, is Adam. So Adam's been super, super, bummed because the last couple of times we've been recording, he was supposed to be with us and regular life got in the way. So Adam, give us your overall thoughts on this episode.
Regular life.
I know life is dumb. Overall thoughts. I could put it into 2 words and I would just say, holy crap. During that last episode, especially, I think I was like, whoa, 3 or 4 times, and I was just blown away. But overall, I think they did a fantastic job. I think that Disney did it justice. Could they have added more stuff? Could they have made it a little bit longer? Sure. But in the short 6 episodes that they had, I think it was fantastic.
Totally. Samuel, what did you think about the finale? You watched it a little bit later than the others of us.
Yeah.
We did a live watch party, and me and Adam were actually watching together. We did one of those 3, 2, 1 press play things, and so we did that. And I was doing a live watch party on the channel so that people were watching with us. We had about anywhere between 3 and 6 people at a time. Chatting, things like that. The chat got so quiet for those 40 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, dude.
Because everybody's just like this. But Adam, we were on the phone via Discord and each other's headphones, so it was cool because we were watching the same thing at the same time, conversating while we're waiting to get different live broadcast software up and running so we can be on the screen at the same time. Long story short, Samuel had to watch a little bit later than us. So what were your thoughts?
Stupid regular life.
Right.
I loved it. I had to wait like all day. I was working till like 9, and then I came home and cooked dinner, and then I was like, all right, let's hurry up. Like we'll do the dishes afterwards. You know, we're gonna watch Kenobi right now.
Right.
And I was just so invested the entire time. I remember we got 10 minutes in. I was like, how much time do I have left? And I paused, and she's like, what's going on? I was like, I just need to see how much time we had left, so I knew like I could mentally prepare for, you know, if I've got to get ready to like let it go, or, you know, if I can be like, all right, I've got, you know, another 40 minutes is okay.
Yeah.
I was here for it the entire time. I loved it. Everything I got to see, I loved. I have zero complaints, actually. I feel fulfilled.
Beautiful.
Even if we don't get a second season at this point, I think it's fine. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, you know, I really, really am clamoring for a Book of Boba Fett season 2. I'm clamoring for Solo 2. I'm clamoring for, you know, all of these things. And I really feel like would I like more if they announced it? I'm not going to be like, oh, this is crap. Like, I would totally watch it. But on the flip side,
Obviously, I'm watching it.
Exactly. I am very at peace and at rest and satisfied with what we got, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
It's that moment where you sit down and you eat something and you're like, man, that was pretty good. I'm still a little bit hungry. And then you sit there for 5 more minutes and you go, no, that was enough. It's a rare moment, but it does occur. I'm satisfied. Yeah.
That's right.
I think Solomon wrote, satiate my heart with apples, for I am sick of love.
That's not where I thought you were going with that, actually.
Me neither.
Nope. We're staying out of the Song of Solomon today, guys. It's a different podcast for a different day.
Hey, that's but Proverbs.
Overall thought, I loved it. It was awesome. It delivered on so many things. There were so many things that we were like, they better do this right with 1 episode left. And they did. And I remember us talking after the episode, 1 and 2 came out the same night. Even episode 3, we were like, okay, so we got some sick Vader action, but we've only got 3 episodes left for the whole season. And I really, whenever we were done at 3 a.m. on Wednesday morning, I was like, I'm happy with that. I can rest. So, okay, we'll start with Samuel on this one. Scale of 1 to 10. You gave 3 and 9. You gave 5 a 9 point. No, you gave 3 a 9.5, and you gave 5 a 9.7. So what is this?
I think we found the elusive 10. I think
what?
We found it. I got
really?
so much that I wanted, man. I got so much that I wanted. I mean, oh my god, we've never seen the Force used like that live action ever. And I get to see it from my favorite Jedi. Like,
right?
I would have to be
ridiculously
entitled to complain after all of that.
For even if Vader's not like your go-to favorite Sith, he's on everyone's list.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like there's some people that if you grew up with the prequels, right? Luke Skywalker is less likely to be on your list. If you grew up with the and he's up there on a lot of people's list. But what I'm saying is there's generational characters, There's not going to be a lot of original trilogy fans that are diehard Rey people. It's just not. Or Kylo even. Vader transcends all time and space. He lives outside of the bubble in the 4 dimensions we live within. And so I agree. I thought it was really good. Adam, scale of 1 to 10. What'd you give it?
Hear me out when I say this.
No.
We're just talking about just the finale, correct?
Yeah, just the finale.
Okay, I'll give it a 9.8. Like,
come in your house tonight. I'm gonna poop on your pants.
I'm still, I don't know. I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I'm still feel like this should have been dragged out a little bit longer, and that's the only reason that I would give it that. Yeah,
okay.
I would leave it at 9.8 because I feel like not just the episode, but like just the series in general. I felt like it should have been at least 10 episodes. Personal opinion,
right?
But that's just me. But if I could,
would I have watched 10 episodes? I loved it. Yes. Am I satisfied with 6 episodes? Absolutely. I think they
I wish I could
for the
say
story
I
they
was,
wanted
but,
to
like,
tell. For the story they wanted to tell, it would be hard to do that for 10 episodes without people being like, "Oh, that one's filler." I'd be like, "Okay."
Mhm.
I think I had
Yeah.
somebody say
Maybe.
like one of the episodes was filler, and I was like, "What do you think? Is that like your appetizer? What's your steak?" You know, like
Right,
I don't understand how you think that's filler. If that's filler, man, I want to see the good stuff.
That's funny.
I think Tim maybe would have been too much for the story that they had at heart. But yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I mean, I'm a glutton for Star Wars, so obviously I want more all the
Yeah,
time.
absolutely.
Okay, so we got a 10 from Samuel. We got a 9.8 from Adam. I'll give it a 9.9. And the 0.1 is because I wanted Owen to blow Reva's head off with a sawed-off shotgun. You can ask Adam. We're on the live, and people are watching me. There's literally people from across the country watching me, and I'm yelling, "Shoot her! Shoot her! Kill her!"
Blaster.
I just like that idea. I thought it would be a
Yeah.
really cool tie into Legends.
That would be.
But anyways, the Vader Obi-Wan story was at like a 12.
Mhm.
You know, so we have a 10, a 9.8, a 9.9, simply because of Owen not killing her with a sawed off. But if Reva shows up in other material and really does a fantastic job, I thought Moses Ingram as an actress did a better job the further the show went on.
I can agree
Definitely.
with that.
She got a little
You
more
know?
depth.
It's
The highest
I said this
rated
last
episode
time.
on IMDb. It's an 8.6, which is actually like ridiculously high for IMDb.
Yes, it is.
Is
Wow.
really
Yeah.
okay.
I think the
so
top rated movie of all time is like an 8.7.
Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
Look it up.
No, I'm pretty sure that's right. I was looking at the top 250 the other day just for fun. I'll look though.
Wow.
Anyway, continue.
Okay, so we've got our thoughts. We've got our rating. Let's talk about standout moments, and there's a truckload of them. So
Oh yeah.
the first little bit of the episode, for those of you who you've seen it but you need a recap, maybe you haven't seen it, so you're coming back to listen to this. But basically, we're leaving episode 5. Reva's been left for dead on Jabim by Darth Vader and the Grand Inquisitor, and the Path, along with Obi-Wan Kenobi himself, have escaped, but their hyperdrive isn't giving 100%, and they're right, like the Empire and Darth Vader's personal Star Destroyer is right on their tail, with the Grand Inquisitor and Darth Vader on board. And so there's a moment where they get hit again right at the beginning of the episode, and it's like, frick, dude, like we can't win for losing. Like we can't even putt so long. I do appreciate though that it got shot and they didn't do the drain their fuel for 2.5 hours like the Last Jedi. They just got over with it and they left. I like the Last Jedi. That's one of the weakest plot points in Star Wars is this, we're running out of gas. So Obi-Wan realizes, obviously Vader's on the ship. He's the one that he wants. He takes off.
Right.
And it just hits the fan for there on for about 35 more minutes. So what were y'all's, I mean, there's no limit. What were some of the moments that just blew your mind this episode?
I don't know where even to start, honestly. Goodness gracious. The whole Obi-Wan Kenobi, actual rematch, because I don't know if we can consider episode 3 a rematch at all.
Right.
This like actual rematch where Kenobi and Vader are fighting, and Vader, basically changes his tune about Kenobi, where he said, the years have made you weak. Now he's like, your strength is returned. And,
dude, the line was so sick because he says, your strength has returned. And then he goes, but the weakness still remains. Bro, I don't know if Adam was
thing to Timbuktu. That was insane.
Bro, I don't know if obviously Adam's watching his screen, but I'm sure he's like kind of looking up at the live as well. And when he says the weakness still remains, I was like, dude, I was so freaking like, oh my God, because we always see, Vader's always the hammer and everybody else is the nail. That's always what we see. We don't really get the intellectual, like conniving. Darth Vader in this episode, I said it in 3, more so in 5 and more so in 6. He's like the most evil we've ever seen him on screen.
For sure.
Just conniving, just hell-bent on getting to Obi-Wan Kenobi, doesn't give a crap about that whole ship full of kids. He could care less. What I really wanted was I really wanted for him to be like, you chase them, Grand Inquisitor, and Vader leave in his TIE Advanced. I know he took the Imperial shuttle, but it would have been cool for him to take the TIE Advanced.
Yeah, I think
down
the
to
only
the
reason
planet.
they did that is because it looks more menacing for him to walk off of that shuttle than it does for him to like climb out of a cockpit of the TIE Advance.
Right, for sure.
See, exactly. Yes. So the rematch. So they call it. Let me touch on this for a second before I move over to you, Adam, and get some of your thoughts on these moments.
Okay.
They called this when they were hyping it up. The hype train was on full steam. Woo woo! And Kathleen Kennedy said it's the rematch of the century. Do you agree it was the rematch of the century, considering the duel that we got in Episode 3 on Mustafar?
Depending on what, yes, I could say yes to that. Yes, I loved it.
I would say yes, just because it's like, I don't know if the choreography or the swordsmanship was quite on par with the Battle of the Heroes, mainly because the Battle of the Heroes went on for like 15 straight minutes. But the amount of power that we see in this duel, like it's unprecedented. Like the amount of just like actually relying on the Force. And I mean, anybody can do hand-to-hand combat. You can have bounty hunters do hand-to-hand combat for like 15 minutes, you know what I mean? But seeing what
it reminded me of, it was like, when you're in any kind of leadership, some of the seminars you go to, whatever, they talk about constructive criticism and how to give it and things. And they talk about a crap sandwich. And a crap sandwich is, you tell somebody, wow, you're doing such a great job. Here's one thing I would change.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing a great job. It's like good, bad, good. And in Attack of the Clones, Dooku and Yoda are going at each other. And it starts with Force abilities. And it's just back and forth. I'm going to break this stone. I'm going to move this stone. I'm going to throw Sith lightning at you. I'm going to catch it, put it in my back pocket for a rainy day. And then Count Dooku goes, it's obvious that our knowledge of the Force is blah, 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 blah. Oh, it can't be, our power can't be determined by our knowledge of the Force, but by our skills with the lightsaber. And he has the cool freaking curved blade. And that's when Yoda does the cool Western, draw or whatever. This was even better than that, dare I say, because you had the knowledge of the Force, the skills with the lightsaber, or I guess it started with lightsaber, then it came with the Force, then it came back with lightsaber, then it had Force again. It was just nonstop. Like you had freaking, man, the moment that was, obviously the weakness still remains, crushing Obi-Wan, that was sick. Obi-Wan using the path and the training and the calling, the whatever you want to call it, that the Force has given him to protect the future of the galaxy by protecting Leia and Luke, coming to the forefront of his mind, where he doesn't fall dark, but uses that to just send his power level in the light through the roof. We've never seen that before, really.
Right.
Like, when Rey pulls that shuttle out of the sky and it ends up exploding because of her lightning, it's kind of like her natural bend towards the dark is exposed because we find out that's Palpatine's granddaughter. But for Obi-Wan, it was like the most powerful display of light side energy for the purest reasons. It was so powerful. And then they do a shout out to the fan art of Obi-Wan from A New Hope, where he's holding up the blasters with the Force. But instead of blasters, it's freaking boulders.
Yeah. Throwing those boulders.
Dude, it was so sick. And I love that he's like, when you're trying to do something, but you don't want to let go of the remote. So you're like holding the remote with these two.
He's still got his lightsaber in this little finger.
Like, he's just got his lightsaber in his little finger and he's just throwing the rocks. That was freaking sick. I thought that the vulnerability shown by him stabbing Darth's lightsaber, chest plate with the butt of his lightsaber was freaking sick. Oh my God.
Yeah.
What did y'all think of the reveal, the face reveal?
Oh, dude, I think it was so powerful because you see the mask, and I think it's the whole thing that makes Vader menacing is the fact that you can't connect with him as a person because his face is removed. But then you remove that aspect, and now you have this person again who happen to be, you know, arguably Obi-Wan's best friend of all time. You know, I think
Literally
his
brother.
the vulnerability there is, I think it couldn't have been done otherwise.
Dude,
I think
and
it's the only way to do it.
In that aspect of the vulnerability, I loved that you could hear Hayden's voice, but then you could also hear the Vader voice too, that kind of transfer back and forth, just so that you could see the contrast between the two, but yet they're still all one, if that makes sense. And I loved it. I thought they did a great job with that.
Dude, I thought it was so good, and I thought that there were right in that moment, there were about 3 or 4 moments from the original trilogy that me as a hardcore fan, but especially the original trilogy diehards, were like, don't screw up the original trilogy. You know what I mean? Like, they already have to live with Leia in episode 6 saying, I remember my mother, but she died when I was very young. And I was like, yeah, like 12 seconds old. You know, like they already have that weird thing going on, right? But, and obviously you can say that, you know, the Force gives her memories, or I don't know what the heck, but I'm sure there's a way they can explain it. But there was a few lines that it was like, how's this going to work? How's this going to work? Like you can't deny some of these things. So one of them was, at last we meet again, Obi-Wan. When last I saw you, I was but a learner, but now I am the master.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so when we saw that with Mustafar. And then when we saw the fighting that took place in episode 3, where freaking Darth Vader was dragging him across the George Foreman grill out there in the desert, you know, putting him on
raking
bacon
him
setting,
over the coals, as it were.
Literally raking him over the coals. It was like, okay, well that doesn't work. You can't do that. You know what I mean? And so then you have this moment where Obi-Wan uses this surge of power in the Force to protect the chosen ones, in his opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And he's crying. And when he says only a master of evil, Darth, I was like, why would he call him Darth? Mm-hmm. And then when he looks up and he sees Anakin's eye and he goes, Anakin, I'm so sorry, bro. It broke me.
Yeah.
It broke me so bad, dude. I was like, I did one of these.
Look up at the screen at that moment, and he like just as almost like wiping his eye. You can tell he's tearing up, and I'm just like, bro. I mean, it was definitely a compassionate moment. Like you could tell how really
he's hurting.
Sorry he felt. Absolutely,
mm-hmm.
how hurting he was. I mean, it was unreal.
And you know, in episode 3, there's the moment where there's a moment in episode 3 where Anakin says something. I can't remember what Anakin says, but Obi-Wan says, well, then you are lost. And it's out of anger. It's like, why don't you're so freaking dumb. Why would you not listen to me? Why don't you trust me? Why would you ever trust Palpatine? He's a freaking evil, obviously. But Obi-Wan's so frustrated. Well, then you're lost. And then this one, he says, I'm so sorry, Anakin, for all of it. I'm sorry for all of it. And all these emotions from rewatching the prequels before the show started, just finished Brotherhood by Mike Chen, where they're like the best friends ever at the end of that book. It talks about Obi-Wan knowing about Anakin and Padme, but letting it run its course because he has to trust him because that's his best friend. All this powerful stuff. And then he says, when Anakin says,
you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did.
And then he goes, well, then goodbye, Darth. And I was like, oh, God.
Yeah.
What's crazy is that, like, you think Obi-Wan's going to find this sort of inner peace a la Kung Fu Panda 2, but he ends up getting this closure from Vader himself. You know what I mean? That it's like Vader himself that releases him. And it's almost like this beautiful, like, full circle. It's almost backwards of what you would expect. You know what I mean? That the person who brings him all this pain and anguish would be the person that, you know, releases him to kind of follow the course that he needs to follow to rectify things. But I think it was really, really cool to see it in that way because, I don't know, I think it really shows the unique nature of their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That it's, you know, how messy their relationship is, and that it, like, it's not just cut and dry. It's like hardly even just like a gray area. Like everything's touching, everything's overlapping. There's the guilt and there's the anger and there's the hurt, and it goes both ways. You know,
it's like all the stages of grief in Obi-Wan's eyes for like 5 seconds. And then he's like, okay, it is. And he says, well, then I can't remember if he says my best friend or if he says my brother, but he says, I think it's brother, but he says, well, then my brother is truly gone. Goodbye,
I think
Darth.
he said friend. Yeah, he says
But
my
oh
friend
yeah,
is truly
friend.
gone.
Yeah, my friend is truly gone. Goodbye, brother, or goodbye, Darth. And I was like, oh frick. And then, which made me sad too because it rectifies some of the moments between Anakin / Darth Vader and Luke in Episode 6. Like, there's that moment there where he says, I know that you're my father, Anakin Skywalker. And Vader says, that name no longer has any meaning for me. And he says, Obi-Wan once thought as you did. And I was thinking, he was pissed. Like, when I'm thinking about Revenge of the Sith, you know? But there's that moment where he's like, I'm sorry. And if Anakin would have turned, Obi-Wan would have helped him turn right there. But he didn't. And he said, I killed Anakin. And he goes, well, then my friend's truly gone. And so that was sad. And it makes me feel like the gut punch of Luke saying, well, then my father is truly dead. That probably feels even worse in Episode 6, hearing it from Obi-Wan, 15 years prior, or whatever the timeline is, and then hearing it from your son, like the person who was most important to you other than Padme, and then the only child from Padme that you know of at the time before he figures out Leia later on. But that, however long that was, 10 or 15 minutes, answered all the questions with the original trilogy, and just, it was so freaking good. So, did y'all feel any sort of way about Reva in her moments, or was it like, okay, cool? Like, I thought it was good, but I was so obsessed with Darth and Obi-Wan that I couldn't really focus on that. I just kept being like, okay, get back to the party.
Yeah,
I think I kind of
had...
felt the same way about that. Like, there was so much going on with that fight that when we got to Reva, I was just like, it's not that it was a letdown, but it was just like, I was so enamored with what was going on with them two. I couldn't truly focus on her, to be honest.
Right. It reminds me of whenever me and Samuel talk about the first Thrawn book back in canon. When you're first listening to it, it's cool to understand and learn who Arenda Price is. Her back's up against the wall. The conglomerate's trying to take over her planet, and she's trying to do right by Lothal and her family and all this other stuff. But after the first time reading it, you're, especially an audiobook, you're like, skip, chapter 8, Thrawn. And you're like, good.
Yeah, I had similar feelings to when I watched The Last Jedi, or when I go back to rewatch The Last Jedi with like the whole Finn and Rose side arc. Like, I'm infinitely less interested than I am in like the Kylo and Rey story arc. So, I'm just kind of checked out. Maybe go get some more popcorn, maybe go to the bathroom. Right. We're done riding the space goats. Now we're back in whatever Rey and Kylo are doing. Now I'm checked back in, like the father years are cool, but I want to see Kylo and Snoke.
I think I could deal more with what was the name of that? Canto Bite. If Rose didn't say, I just want to
shove my fist through this whole beautiful, lousy town.
I don't know if the word is it shove?
Worst line ever, yeah.
I don't know. It might as well be.
But yeah.
The impact is the same.
This lousy, beautiful town. Yeah. And we need more DJ. Can we get more DJ stories?
I would love more DJ, actually. I'd love like a DJ comic or like
Dude, you know what would have been sick is if it's too much of a goody-goody character in the end, but if Haja, if his character had been DJ,
yeah, that'd have been
because
cool.
Freaking, what's that guy's name? Benicio del Toro. He's looked the same for like 50 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Not changed at all.
Yeah.
He's looked like that for forever. Anyways, other standout moments for you guys? There's one obvious one that we're avoiding towards the end.
I mean, Qui-Gon. Are we not going to talk about that?
There it is.
Yeah.
I didn't know if there's anything else that you want to talk about.
I do, but I'll let's touch on Qui-Gon though.
Yeah, go ahead, Samuel.
I don't know, man. It's if there is man, my light keeps falling. Sorry. If there is a season 2, I want it to be nothing other than Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. That's all I want. Dude, just because I really, 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 really wanted to see them interact a little bit more and see kind of the training and stuff that Obi-Wan goes through with Qui-Gon. But at the same time, it was so cool just to see him and hear his voice and, basically be like, yeah, I was always here, man. Like you just had to get ready. And I think it was
He
the
goes,
perfect
"Took you long
ending
enough."
note. Yeah,
Right.
I think
Yeah.
it's the perfect ending note because it like justifies the journey that Obi-Wan's gone through in the
Mhm.
first, however long of the show, to really show that like it wasn't just about the kids, it wasn't just about Vader, it was about him becoming who he needed to be in the next season, and
Right.
that being validated by Qui-Gon saying, "Hey, now you're ready."
Obi-Wan, I guess this is kind of for later, but by the end of the episode, Obi-Wan becomes the man that 4 or 5 years later is full samurai in the desert
Yeah.
against Darth Maul in the Twin Sons episode. Like seeing Obi-Wan over the course of the last 2 episodes, 2 or 3, where he's holding the water back in
Mhm.
the Inquisitor's location.
Yeah.
And then he's mentally in tune to like constantly throw himself on the fire and be the vessel of the Force so that other people can escape and things. And then the the Obi-Wan from episode 1 would have just laid down and died whenever the rocks were slamming up against him. But the Obi-Wan that has a deep desire to live within the will of the Force is the one that was able to hold that pressure up on the
Mhm.
Castle Inquisitor or Fortress Inquisitorius, hold up those rocks. And then, dude, whenever he pushes them out and then he runs and just, it's like a quick jump. He's like, doo-doo.
Yeah,
Like
he
almost like
runs
a,
out, man.
yeah, that was sick. Adam, what was your thought? You had a moment that stood out to you.
Well, it had to do with that fight and the last scene where the mask is broken open and such. And my moment has a caveat to it, but like the thing that I was thinking of was at that moment, Darth Vader or Anakin is, like we said, he said, Anakin's dead. I killed him. But is that the final moment that that Obi-Wan has seen from episode 4, where he says, "I haven't felt this presence since"? Is that it?
Yeah.
Is that it? I mean, like that was the time. I mean, the caveat being that there's a season 2 and they meet again. But I'm just saying, that's just one of those things that I kind of felt like that could be it. Like the last time I felt this was when I had my face smashed open by Obi-Wan. That's just.
I think, if there's a season 2, could they force another showdown? Sure. But I think that the way that they ended their relationship now is perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
I
I
agree.
think especially that, dude, you can ask Tori when we were watching it and I saw that they were back in the castle in Mustafar and I was like, we're going to see the Emperor. There's got to be a little powwow going on. And so I was like, are we going to see him? Are we going to see him? And then you see the little hologram. I was like, there he is, babe. And, they kind of had their little chit chat and it's fun to see them talking like in the weird master, but still friends kind of way that like you read about in Lords of the Sith, where he's very much like the superior, but he also regards Vader as a friend in some way. It's a very strange relationship dynamic, but it's carried out very well.
It's a step below the relationship that Sidious and Plagueis had in the Darth Plagueis novel. And I think it's a step below because of Vader's failure at the beginning of their master and apprentice relationship. I think Sidious wanted to have that closer relationship, and he's like, well, you screwed the pooch. They won the job.
If you read Plagueis, it's like they're almost consider each other equals almost. But
right. But if you think about Revenge of the Sith, that's Sidious taunts Yoda and says, Darth Vader will be more powerful than either of us.
Yeah. Well, and I mean that's the goal, right? That's the rule of 2. But
right.
I mean you don't pick an apprentice unless you think he can outgrow you. But anyway, what I was driving at is the conversation that Vader and Sidious have almost puts to rest Darth Vader's obsession with Kenobi, where he says, I only serve you. That like he doesn't serve his.
He's nothing to me now.
It's basically like a declaration of all right, I guess I'll let it go, and he sits back and I don't know. It seems like the dog finally let go of the bone. That Vader. I think Vader's not going to chase Kenobi anymore. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think even if there is a season 2, I don't think that this plays a part in it at all.
Yeah,
going back to that scene though, like visibly that shot was fabulous. Like I loved seeing the fire in the background and him sitting on his throne and the hologram. I just thought it was great.
Well, I thought it was cool that like when they panned out, Vader's sitting on the throne, but the castle itself looks like Vader's face. I thought that was so
yes.
Mhm,
Yes.
mhm. Yeah, I thought it was really cool. I'm obsessed with holograms in the sense that they're see-through, but whenever you saw the back of Sidious's head, all you can see is his cloak. Like, how does that work? You know what I mean? Like, this water bottle's see-through, but I can see through it. But I don't know. It's like, I don't know. It's a solid, but also see-through. It's weird. Anyways, but that kind of covers the two big main new appearances when we talk about new characters every week. Qui-Gon and Sidious, which is so interesting that let me go back to
the
that
parallel
thought.
there. Yeah.
Y'all hold me accountable to go back to that thought. A couple of moments that stood out to me before I want to do these in order. The Obi-Wan Kenobi power stance that we see was raw, and the Obi-Wan Kenobi hello there to Luke Skywalker was raw. And I know you guys aren't as big into comics, but there's a series. I'll send you guys the link because I know, Adam, you're trying to get into them a little bit more. And Samuel, it's just like 7 little issues, so you can get through it in a day. But it's called From the Journals of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they've taken episodes from the main storyline from like 2017 on that are on Tatooine with Obi-Wan. And on the cover is Obi-Wan with a tan Jedi outfit on with the brown overcoat, and around his neck there's goggles. And I didn't realize it until after I'd watched the finale.
Interesting.
Over the course of the season, they're compiling these pieces where he has his own outfit, but then he needs a new outfit because he's all burnt up. And then he comes to grips with I am still a Jedi, so he puts on the Jedi overcoat. And then he's riding across the Dune Sea, and he's going far away. And now he has to buy goggles, and he looks just like that character. All that to say, on the cover, he also has a gaffy stick, and maybe season 2 he gets the gaffy stick.
That's cool.
I'm fiending for some more Tusken Raiders. I haven't had my fix since the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, I think something
We've
else
got to
that
be
was
the
really
authority
cool
on
was
Tusken Raiders, right?
Was the repetition of the lines between Vader and Kenobi at the beginning of their fight. He's like, "Did you come here to destroy me, Obi-Wan?" He says, "I'll do what I must."
I'll do what I must.
But there was the adaptation now of Vader, instead of saying "you will try," and he said, "Well, then you'll die." So that was kind of a cool little shakeup of his like boost in confidence. But
well, it's a parallel of him and Obi-Wan, and then it's a parallel of him and Ahsoka.
And Vader. Oh, okay.
Then you will die.
Is that what he says?
That's from Rebels and Twilight of the Apprentice. He's like, you will not survive this, or something like that. And Ahsoka says, "I'm not going to leave you again." And he goes, "Then you will die." He leans into the shot. So it's cool. The parallels there. The parallels of when he picks up his head and he says, "You didn't destroy Anakin Skywalker. I did." And he says, "Anakin, what happened to you?" And Ahsoka says that in Rebels. And he said, "Anakin Skywalker was weak, so I destroyed him." So there's parallels there. And whether you hate it or not, sequels haters, it also parallels to Kylo Ren. Your son was weak.
Yeah.
I destroyed him. Talking to Han Solo.
Yeah.
You had a thought, Samuel?
Oh no, I was just thinking about all the cool lines that we got. Every time he said something that was like a reference to something, I was like, he said it. I was just geeking out the entire time.
It's so interesting that we're still building off of their fight from the flashback from last episode too.
Yeah.
Like your need for victory, it blinds you, and it blinded him all the way to becoming a Dark Lord of the Sith, and now he's bound to it because it's the only thing he can do.
Yeah.
Whenever he's talking to Luke in episode 6, he says, "You don't know the power." And to me, in episode 5, when he says, "You don't know the power," it's a lustful, like, you got to try this. You don't know. You don't understand the power. But in episode 6, there's almost a sadness. If you listen to that, we're on the catwalk coming out of the AT-AT, ready to get onto the transport to take him to the Emperor. Take him to the Emperor. There's a moment where he's like, it's too late for me. You don't know the power of the dark side. Like, it's got me beyond my control at this point. It's even those are different. But I think that his need for victory blinding him, and now he's chained to the master that he doesn't love him. He needs him, and he has, what else is he going to do? And then Obi-Wan's the opposite, being on the defensive, being the vessel, and being a vessel of the Force, not making the Force your victim, not forcing yourself on the Force, as it were. And then he gets to reunite with a master he does love. He gets to walk into, and there's such peace that he leaves the cave, because in episode 4, he lives in the middle of the Dune Sea, or across the Dune Sea from Luke, in a hut. So there's so much peace in his heart from where he's at. He's leaving that cave that's right around the corner from Luke with the binoculars, and he's going to go across the desert on the Yopi, which is where he'll begin his training with Qui-Gon. It's like a perfect yin and yang between Vader and Obi-Wan at the end of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's where we kind of headed if we're going to step into the new characters segment, which is, the parallel between Kenobi getting to see Qui-Gon at the end and Vader talking with Palpatine at the end, where it's like they both, gone their own ways, and now they're reconvening with like the person who's going to give them their next steps. That Vader's going further into the dark side, and Kenobi is going further into the light side, both becoming stronger. I think that was a cool way to end it, because it still shows that they're like two sides of the same coin, that they're that they're still like doing the exact opposite.
Yeah. And they should be side by side.
Yeah.
It made me so sad, dude. Like, I know the story.
Yeah.
But in the moment, I'm captivated, and I'm sleep deprived, and I'm sick, and it's 3 a.m. And he's like, Anakin, I'm sorry. And I'm like, Anakin, just humble yourself. Just submit. Like, that wasn't Olive Branch, 100%. He wanted to make it right,
Well, and it was cool, I think, for the lack of interest I have in the Reva arc, obviously in comparison to the Kenobi arc. I think it was cool that he was still the Jedi who is a Jedi. That he's saying you don't honor them by avenging them, you honor them by giving, basically by giving grace to Luke, by not killing them, you honor them. Upholding the Jedi ideal is what is the right thing to do. And to kind of like, he lost Vader, but he got Reva. He like lost one Padawan, but got another one. And so I think it was cool just to see that he's not selective in who he's trying to save. He's like just doing the Jedi thing where he's saving everybody he can.
Right.
I think that's really cool.
Do you think? Okay, I talked about this at the end of the live, because I was just thinking at the time. Do you think so? The dark side of the Force, keeping her alive through hatred, rage, revenge, all that jazz, the Darth Maul route.
Mm-hmm.
But she was still stabbed in her one human stomach. There's no workaround. Do you think that when she let go of that hatred and rage and anger, should she have died?
Not if we're going to do the Force Band-Aid thing.
But
that
there's
it in Rise of Skywalker.
Correct, but Rey's the most powerful character, like in that. Well, not in that trilogy, because Kylo's more powerful than her. But she's equally powerful to Kylo Ren, who's the son of Leia, who's the grandson of Vader. Like, Reva doesn't have that in the bag, and she has no knowledge of it. It's a gift to Rey.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like there's definitely time for her to hit a bacta tank on the way out to Tatooine. So I don't know how actually injured she was. She seemed like she was fine, because she wasn't doing the whole Kylo Ren punching herself in the stomach thing. She seemed to be aces going up to the Lars homestead.
That's still so bad to the bone, dude.
Yeah,
we're not done yet. That's so sick. Okay, so I know we're a little time restrained here, so let's move on to what's next, which is opening up the possibility for an Obi-Wan season 2. And if it does happen, what do you want to see? Adam, we'll let you go first, just in case you need to duck out, and then we'll go with Samo. I'll go last, and then we'll tune out.
Honestly, I think we said it earlier. It's like I'm satisfied where it was at. I don't need a season 2. If there was one, I have no clue where I'd want it to go. Like, just blatant honesty. I'm satisfied the way it went. I really am.
Right.
I know exactly what I'd like to see.
What you got?
Go for it.
If there is a season 2, and again, like I fully agree that if there isn't a season 2, I'm very satisfied with the story. I feel like for shows, It's one of the most
Right.
complete stories, if not the most complete story we've gotten start to finish from the Disney franchise. But I would like to kind of go the route of what George Lucas wanted the prequels to be and kind of really, really examine like the peculiarities and the intricacies of the Force.
Oh, the
But-
sequels.
Yeah. Or what did I say?
You said prequels.
Yeah, that's kind of what he wanted with the, like he introduced midi-chlorians, right? So he
Right,
wanted to
right.
kind of introduce like the more
But yeah,
intimate
they asked
areas of
him.
the Force.
Yeah, people have asked him since the sequels, like, what would you have done differently? And he was like, you would have hated mine.
Yeah. But yeah, just almost where it's like minutia, but I want to know all the ins and outs. But I want it to end at the Twin Sons from Rebels. I want to see live action Kenobi versus Maul, because that's really like that's the end of, you know, kind of the Kenobi saga. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
like the last remaining showdown.
Transfers
he
over
has.
to Luke from there.
Yeah.
Transfers over to Luke from there. I agree. Okay, here's my idea.
Okay.
Ready? Something needs to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen. We went all over the place this season, so we could go anywhere. Some way, we end up on Naboo, and I want to see a Jar Jar, Obi-Wan
Oh my
Kenobi
God.
reunion. Then we get right back to Tatooine. I just want the Jar Jar reunion.
I don't think there's any love lost between Kenobi and Jar Jar. He seems to hate him from start to finish.
Why do I feel like we picked up another pathetic life form?
Right.
Meaning the one we just picked up is clearly pathetic. Okay, but for real, that would just be for Joe. If they were like, if someone on the inside had a crush on me and they wrote it to have Jar Jar in there, that'd be great. Realistically, what I would love is for we stay on Tatooine, and as much as I complained about being on Tatooine for the whole book of Boba Fett, we stay on Tatooine the entire time. And what we're working on the deep concepts of the cosmic force. I want to see Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and Yoda convening somehow through the cosmic force. I want to travel to the other side, like, you know, Stranger Things has the upside down and Star Wars has the world between worlds. There's got to be somewhere inside the cosmic force, even if it's just for 30 seconds, where you see the Master and Apprentice short story by Claudia Gray moment taking place, where Qui-Gon is tearing himself away from the cosmic force to become a part of the land of the living, to commune with Obi-Wan, something like that. Second to that, I want to see some of the stuff from the Kenobi novel, where Obi-Wan finds a way to create peace between the moisture farmers and the Tuskens, at least in one part of Tatooine, which will include Plug Eye, who's the jewel-eyed Tusken Raider. Still want to see her on screen. And I would love for them to incorporate the comics showdown with Black Chrysanthemum, because Black Chrysanthemum didn't have a scar. The big scar he has in the Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi gave him. I would love to see that showdown. They already have the freaking $75,000 costume, or however much it costs to make. And then besides that, I agree. I'd love to see it finish at Twin Sons. We already have a live action Ezra character far in the future, which is that guy that keeps hinting at being in the Mandalorian and stuff. But you also have the guy that did the voice of Ezra, who kind of looks like the character. He could play young Ezra in the desert. In my personal preference, have Ray Park come do the physical and Sam Witwer do the voice. That's my personal preference. I think Solo having Ray do the physical and Sam doing the voice was sick. And I knew that there were rumors that Maul was the main villain from this season before it got changed to Vader. You know, and I don't know what Ray Park's relationship with Lucasfilm is right now, but anything can be fixed.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
So those are my thoughts.
I dig it.
But yeah, we loved it. We were happy with it. If we don't get more Obi-Wan, we can rest. If we get more, we'll be up at 2 a.m. launch day to watch it.
Yes, we will.
Cool.
Absolutely.
So awesome. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to the Chiss Ascendancy. Like I said before, if you're new to the channel, and I hope you enjoyed this review, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on all of our socials, and turn on that notification bell so you can see when we're putting out shorts and clips and things like that. So thank you guys once again for tuning in. And remember, the Force will be with you always.
Also remember, the only family you have here is me.
We'll see you guys next time.